This is Russell with Russell Does Stuff. I work 6 hours on Monday, 6 hours on Tuesday, and whatever I don't get done on Tuesday, I finish up on Wednesday. Now, remember in the last video, I got a new customer. He approached me while I was out in the neighborhood working. And I mulled that over and over and over in my head. You know, do I want another account? Do I want to go to work for him? And I decided to give him an estimate. Phone number, I tried to dial his phone number and it didn't work. So I drove over to his house and left him an estimate. He called me, accepted the estimate. And I have experience with this. His property hasn't been taken care of in a long time. And I know that going into this. So you're going to have to spend some extra time getting it in shape a little bit. All right. I've done enough houses to where I know what I'm doing. It's easy. You know, I have a plan when I'm going in. The goal is to do maintenance on the house in 8 minutes, 10 minutes and get out. So I believe I got his property ready this morning to maintain in 8 to 10 minutes when I go there. I added him to my route. I think I can take care of him and still get home by noon on Tuesday. He was happy to see me, gladly paid me. He came out, he wanted to pay me before I was done. And I try to ignore the customer. I wave, but I don't want to be interrupted while I'm working. And if all possible, I let him know, you know, hey, I'll be done in a minute, and then I'll chit chat with you. So got the property to where I think I can manage it. Like I said, he was happy. Today's a day I don't work, but it's my time. I can do anything I want. I planned all that out years ago, so I can do what I want. So I got up this morning at 7 and went over to his house at 7:30 and took care of business. And then I figured since I was already out, I'll go take care of another account that'll give lighten my load next week. So I'm already planning ahead. So in 30 minutes, I made $85. All right, minus costs and all that stuff. Let's just say $60. All right. Did I need the money? No. Am I glad I went out and did that? Yes and no, because I'm trying to get a routine during the week to where I work on my investments and I ship and sell things. I want to list things on eBay. So going out and doing some physical activity pulls my energy away from that type of thinking and stuff. So I have an investment that I'm working on, which I'll share next month, that I'm working on. I'll share with everybody. I want to thank everybody for all the subscribes I got. It's awesome. Keep it up. I wanted to make a video this morning, and I had some things on my mind. Got Wayne here in the grass. Say hi, Wayne. Say hi to YouTube world. All these good people watching your dad's channel. Say hi to Winston. I got out of my comfort zone this morning and I went and did work for that guy. Made him happy. I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to go to his house for a couple more weeks because I start my mowing season in June, and I go for about 23 weeks. It didn't used to be like that. When I worked for very wealthy people, they water their grass year round and they fertilize. So as soon as the temperatures hit 70 something, the grass starts growing. So February, March, I was already out there working hard instead of being at the house. The reason I was doing that is because I had financial goals. I wanted to pay off things, and I needed to work. I needed to work almost year round in order to meet those goals. Once I met all those goals, Then I had a decision to make. When do I want to cut back? Every year, I was cutting back. I was getting rid of 20 grand worth of work. I was reducing my customer base, who I was working for. I was deciding my plan. I was figuring it out. When people were calling me and emailing me and bothering me too much, I put them on the I don't want to work for them list anymore. Eventually, I was only down to a few customers in those wealthy neighborhoods. And then I decided to work them through the winter while they were gone. And then right before summer, to move on. I let them know, wrote them a letter, thanked them for etc. and blah, 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 even if those nice letters weren't warranted. I wasn't treated very nice by a lot of my customers. But I sucked it up anyway, and I worked for them. I crawled around on my hands and knees for them. In 125 degree heat indexes. A lot of those people, they go from the house to the car, to the building, to the restaurant, to the car, to the house. They're not outside in the heat. You get done mowing and taking care of 8 or 9 properties, hedges, branches, weeds. You go around these properties, 4 or 5 times, and you get to someone's house where they want to, pull you away from what you're doing and stand there and talk to you for 15 or 20 minutes about, their flowers or whatever. You got to be nice to people, but most of the time it was, why aren't my flowers blooming? And what do you think about this? It was just all stuff that kept me from moving and grooving, So now I don't have any of those people that come out and talk to me. The people that do come out and talk to me are my friends. I work for my friends. I'm happy to see them. They're not complaining about their yard. They're happy to see me, and they're asking me how I'm doing. How are you, Russell? Well, Greg, I'm doing great, man. It's happy to see you. How's things going? That kind of stuff now. I used to come home after working for all these wealthy people. It was exhausting. I would sit in my truck and I would answer all of the texts and return all of the phone calls and stuff from these people. When you get into my house, well, I've been getting to your house at 9 o'clock for the last 8 or 9 years, Well, when you get to my house, knock on the door, I want to talk to you, All right, so now I got to talk to somebody. All right. I don't have to do that anymore. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that that's part of the deal. You have to be a psychologist, a bartender, a problem solver, a mover and a shaker. You have to, you have to wear a lot of hats. When you're an air conditioning technician, you have to be mechanical, a chemist, a problem solver. You have to, sometimes emotional support to customers. A lot of people can't afford repairs. I was, I felt like a bartender. I listened to people's problems all the time. You have to be have some sympathy for some of that stuff. I have customers that still call me. Have had terrible situations in their lives, and I'm sympathetic to their situations, and I'll go take care of their property for a reduced rate or whatever I can do to make their situation a little brighter. It's my time to give, and we have the power to do something nice for people. When you get a chance to do that, do it. I found that sometimes I'm nice to people and they take advantage of that, you know. I had a lady who, you know, she's got like 3 kids. She had some hurricane issues, and I spent a year going over there and donating my time and helping her out with her situation and stuff. And she had 3 grown boys that didn't do anything around the house, you know. So when the winter came and things weren't growing and stuff like that, I backed away a little bit, you know. Still kept an eye on her house and stuff for her, but and then the summer came. You know, county came and put a notice on her door. I think, you know, your grass is tall, you need to cut it. She called me up and asked me if I was still doing it and stuff, and you know, I told her, you know, I retired, and she was like, "Oh, all right, you know, I'll pay you." I said, "No, I'm good," you know, because I knew that one or two things was going to happen. She was going to become a customer, or our kids were going to start taking care of her property. The second happened. The kids started to come over and take care of her house for her, and which is good. I like that. You know, kids, you need to take care of your mom. All right, if she's still around, take care of her. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna come over here to my barbecue pit area and set my phone over here. I had some thinking this morning, some thoughts. Entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur, okay? You could be an entrepreneur and own a business, or you want to start one. You know, there's entrepreneurs, they don't even have a business yet. When you were in high school, remember those kids selling lollipops and Jolly Ranchers and stuff like that on the bus? Those are entrepreneurs. They're hustling, you know. I wasn't one of those guys because I didn't have any money to go to the store. Hey, Mom, can you buy me a bag of Jolly Ranchers so I can 10X them on the bus ride home? You know, I wasn't into that kind of stuff. So I just watched. And one of the wealthiest friends I have, which he's not a friend anymore. I'll go into that another day. He sold all sorts of stuff to the kids on the way home. Okay, and it just wasn't my thing, you know. I didn't want to sell stuff to kids. I wanted to get home from school and go outside and do my thing, you know. I wasn't an entrepreneur then. What are we made of? What are people like us made of? Well, we're responsible. I wasn't responsible enough to take entrepreneurship seriously. You know, I was a danger to myself because I wasn't willing to be passionate, responsible, persistent, focused. The biggest problem with that is focus. I should be at the gym right now. I'm not focused. I'm tired. I don't feel like it. I'm not going. But when you overcome that and you go to the gym when you don't feel like it, something happens inside. You get this good feeling like you've achieved something. All right. You got to be tough. You got to be a warrior. All right. I was doing things that I didn't want to do. I was eating dirt, crawling around on my hands and knees. I was doing whatever it took to become successful. I had no choice. I was relentless. I was very, very, very driven. Okay, and I didn't want anyone or anything to stand in my way. Okay, I made a big mistake. I had girlfriends during that particular time after I was divorced. You know how much girlfriends cost? They're expensive. If you're going on a date, it costs money. If you got holidays and birthdays and Valentine's Day and all that, you got to buy gifts and all that stuff. You know, I was the guy that couldn't afford all that stuff, but I was taking money that I had made with the business I started, and I was spending it on stuff I shouldn't had no business spending money on. Okay. The average amount that you spend when you're dating somebody is about $10,000. I added it up. Okay. Dinner ain't cheap. All right. And you want to have a nice car, you know, to go to dinner in. I did a buy here, pay here thing, you know, so I could impress girls. My priorities were screwed up. Okay, that's why my business development is behind a bunch of years because I was thinking with the wrong head. All right, I knew what I was made of, but I wouldn't get out of my own way. Okay, I made it harder on myself, and all this stuff here, once I figured it out, transferred into over here. Okay, when I got divorced and I lost everything when the economy collapsed, I became my next door neighbor's roommate. Okay, I moved next door to my house and lived in a bedroom with my neighbor. I had no choice. I had nowhere to go. Then I lived in a tent. Yeah, I lived in a tent. And on the inside of that tent, there's a tag. It said wind, rain, sleet, snow, fire. You know, I tested that tent to its limits. Okay, I slept in that tent for 3 or 4 months. Then I moved into my parents' house. All right, I'm in my 30s. I'm living in my old bedroom. All right, good times. And it wasn't my old bedroom anymore because Mom redecorated it for like a guest room, you know, so this felt awkward, you know. Then I moved into a rental right here. And then from that rental, I went to another rental. Then I had found myself back in a situation where I was a roommate again. Okay? I'm a prisoner in someone's house. They are Caesar. They run the show. Okay? They were king, queen. I had no voice. I just, you know, was running my newly started business and going along with the flow, you know, because I had no choice. Well, I got successful a little bit while I was a roommate. It gave me enough money to buy a rental. Now I'm a renter again. All right. And then from that, I became a homeowner. Okay. I had to figure out how to become a homeowner. All right. You need a deposit when you buy a house. So what I was doing at night was I was painting and cleaning up apartments for money. And this came down to the wire here, all right? The people I was working for, the landlords, or not the landlord, the property manager, well, they were the landlord of where I was living, and they were also the property manager. So I started working for them because I advertised to them for free. I pressed the flesh. I said, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I do this. They started using me. So I started working for my landlord who owned a property management company. So they weren't paying me on a regular basis because they said they were getting money through this channel and that channel and this and that. And I had made enough money to put a down payment on a house. I needed about $7,000 to put on my house, all right? I had somebody out looking for a house for me. I was doing the research. Heard rocks falling from the sky or something. I was doing the research on a house. I found a house I wanted, okay? It's close to the interstate so I could go this way and that way, up and down and whatever, and run my business with more precise engineering. So, I needed that money from painting those apartments and stuff as a down payment. So I took the rent that I owed them and I held on to it. Then we had a meeting. The property manager had 2 hats on that day. They had, I'm your landlord and also your customer meeting. They wrote me a check for the painting and all this work that I had done. I think they owed me like $3,600. Okay. And they gave me the check, and then they said, are you going to pay rent this month? They had owed me some other money too. for a couple other things. And I was in their office and I was sitting there and I was confident. So they gave me the check for doing the painting. They owed me some money for some other work I'd done for them. And it evened out about the same amount that the rent that I owed them was. I looked her right in the eyes and I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to go out in my truck and I'm going to get you that money. I walked out through the lobby, opened the door, walked out, got in my truck, and I drove away. She called me, or had her husband call me. He was in the same, they worked together, and asked me what's going on. And I said, oh, what do you mean what's going on? I said, oh, I didn't have my checkbook with me. I needed to buy myself 1 week. All right. So I made the deal on the house. Put the down payment on the house. And moved out, okay, from this to that, and became a homeowner. And I never looked back. And they didn't call me anymore. They didn't bug me, hey, this and that. They did the math, and they realized the whole situation was square. So I moved out. I had no choice. Okay, they were going to increase the rent. They had sold the property to somebody else. It became part of some Canadian portfolio where a bunch of wealthy people have a portfolio together. Okay. So all this hard work, all this suffering, all these experiences, my goal is to get into a house that I own. Okay. Once I started making the payments on my house, I came up with a formula, a spreadsheet. What's it going to take to pay this house off? How many years at this amount? How many years at that amount? I'm going to do a video on that journey, okay? But while I was paying the house off, or coming up with a plan to pay the house off, I was always looking for the land in my area, okay? This land that I'm standing on right now, I didn't own. I wanted to buy it. I wanted to make the yard bigger, all right? So I saved up some money that should have went towards paying the house off, but I had to jump on this. So I called a realtor up and I told her, how much is the lot behind my house? She gave me a price or whatever. I said, let's do it. So I bought the lot behind my house. Okay. Now I've increased the value of my home. Okay. And I didn't touch this lot for probably 5 or 6 years. Okay. Because my goal was to pay the house off. All right. And once I did that, then I came out here with a hedge trimmer and I started trimming and stuff like that. And had some paths and stuff. And then I put a chair underneath the tree and I would come after I was done working, 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'd get home and I would sit in a chair and I'd have a beer and I would enjoy that lot. All right, it was time to enjoy my lot. So I delay gratification and stuff at times too, because I want to stay focused. When I'm focused on something, I'm focused on it. Okay. I'm always looking for property. Okay. I want to take my money and invest it into something. I'm always looking for that kind of stuff. Homeboy don't have a retirement. Homeboy mow lawns for a living. Homeboy made a whole bunch of mistakes in the past. I ain't got no 401k. I don't have any of that stuff. You know, I'm toying around with putting my money in a money market account. You know, they say I can touch it and stuff, and I may have to pay some taxes on it or whatever. You know, I'm thinking about that kind of stuff. You know, so I'm always looking for land. I'll do a video on some land that I bought from some of the money that I got from a service business. Okay, service business is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Okay, a service business that sends me money every month. All right. That's the greatest thing in the world. Someone's sending you money every month. It's amazing. It's great. I didn't like it when I was doing a job and knowing and they paid me, and then I didn't have another job after that with that person. Then I had to go out and find another job. You know, a lot of people are living, you know, from hand to foot or whatever you call it, and they're doing real good with that. You know, there's the guys that clear property around here. You know, once you clear all the properties, there's no properties left to clear. But, you know, with the housing boom that was going on, they were able to bounce from one lot to the next 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 lot. But now I see things slowing down out there. I see houses not selling. I see new construction not selling, and for a long time. You know, I think we're going to have a renter's market again, where a lot of these home builders are going to have to rent their houses out to people because they can't sell them. Can you imagine building a brand new house and then renting it out? You know, the wear and tear and all that, and your house is depreciated because of the market. Interest rates are up because, you know, the situation that we're in now. That's the climate. You know, I'm mowing these people's lawns. I have firsthand knowledge of what's going on in the real estate business. Okay. And probably some of you are like, why did you become a real estate agent? I don't want to go sit in someone's house all Sunday and read a book. For one, I don't know how to read real well. I don't know how to spell. All right, I have no education. And I don't want people calling me all times of the night. I don't want to wash my truck so a customer can feel comfortable in it. You know, I researched real estate agents and stuff. I don't want to be one. I'd rather work for one. I still have to focus on that slice of pie that I want. All right. This is a pie. I just want this little piece right here. All right. I want that. Just that tiny little sliver. Okay. That's what Russell wants. I decided that Russell wanted that a long time ago. I decided that that's what Russell wanted when he decided to buy a house and become a homeowner. I mentor young men when they ask if they can come work for me if I have a job for them. I say, yeah, sure. And if you want to learn anything, I can help you, give you some tools and try to help you with your thinking and stuff. And you could be a homeowner too if you want. First-time home buyer programs, you know, low down payments. You know, there's all sorts of ways to become a homeowner. What you need to do is become one first. All right. After you get a successful business, that's the engine for paying off a house. All right. Step one is if you need to start a business or get in a business that you buy from somebody. Okay. Take that money, roll it into something someone can't take from you. That's what I do. That roommate can kick me out anytime they want. That tent's going to wear out. Living at my parents' house sucked. My mom wanted to know what I was doing at 9 o'clock. Why are you out past 9 o'clock? Mom, I'm a grown man. All right. I have a 14-year-old daughter. All right. Why are you out past 9? A rental. I'm at the mercy of these people. All right. Then I became a roommate again. I'm at the mercy of a roommate. Then I'm renting again. You see that situation. They want to raise the rent. What if they didn't want to renew the lease? You know? Can't take that away from me, that's for sure. I'm my own boss. But I paid the price over here for that. So, this is Russell with Russell Does Stuff. And if you're just passing through and this is not your thing, like and subscribe. Hit the like button. Come back in a couple months or a month from now or a couple weeks from now. Maybe you'll find or see a video that you like. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I have some goals with this channel and helps out a lot. And until the next one, this is Russell.